Look, we're back. Thank you so much for joining us for this next segment of the Blueprint 2. Again, I'm Lawrence Wilbin, and I'm with Fathers Incorporated. And I have the distinct honor to be able to lead part of this work around Black men mental health and the impacts that it has on us as Black men, and particularly around fathers as well. So today, I have the distinct honor to have our esteemed guest with us. You know him from the NFL as an NFL former player, but we have Mr. Dorsey Levens with us, who has grabbed hold of something that I think will be transformational for all of us in our lives. And so we're going to have a brief conversation with him today, and he's going to share a few tips with us to help us stay strong in this fight, on our journey in this thing of life. So, Dorsey, thank you for joining us today.
Lawrence, thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, look, we want to talk briefly. You're known for your work on the field, right, and known for all the many pursuits that you did on the field. But you're taking a different approach now, and you're really addressing some things that around mental health that I'm excited to talk about today. So, we've had a conversation before, and I understand that you're doing something around mindset training or mindfulness. Talk to me a little bit about how you got started with that kind of work.
So a few years ago, I had a speed and agility company training athletes to get better, better footwork, just better skills on whatever field they played on. And I always gave them inspirational quotes at the end of every workout. So one of my guys, a pro lacrosse player, he said, you and my mom should talk because y'all speak the same language. And I was like, what does your mom do? And he said, well, leadership development. And then initially I was like, nah, I'm just not interested in going into corporate boardrooms, suit and tie, putting on my best face, right? I'm like, nah. But his mom did go to Georgia Tech where I went to school. So I went and met with her. Long story short, what she brought to the table was a lot different than what I thought she was going to bring. It hit on the head a lot of the mindfulness and the self-help work I've been doing really my whole life, the last 25, 30 years. Um, but she had put it in a formula to help people kind of de-stress. So I started doing it, man, and it changed my life. So I was the program we had was geared toward corporate America. So I wanted to do something more toward the people that I know and the people that I could help. So that's why I got involved with it, man. And when I say it's been life changing, I really can't express enough. I was on a call last night with a young lady who I took through the program, and she was elated. She was just like, I can't believe how much different I feel, So, man, it helped me so much. I just want to help other people.
Love it. I love it. So one of the things that we're aiming to do is demystify this whole thing around mental health and really making sure that we're mentally in check, right? And so I think, as something you said that kind of triggered that kind of thought about it is that you took some of the concepts that were designed for in a boardroom, and you wanted to apply it to everyday folks and make it practical, right? And so I appreciate that. One thing I know about you is that you're a man of acronyms, right? And one of the acronyms that you've come up with is this acronym of WIN. Talk to us a little bit about WIN. What does that mean when we're talking about our mental health?
So usually when I start my program, the first thing I talk about is win, and it's an acronym for what's important now. And now is the key word, right? Because all we ever get is now. Life is just a string of nows. Even a lot of our issues as human beings, we worry about things that may or may not happen in the future, or we worry about things that we've done in the past. But whenever we do that stuff, we're doing it in the present moment, right? So first thing you got to do is be aware of where your mind is. Are you here right now, or are you in the future, or are you in the present? Second thing is decide what's important to you. I tell people to write down 3 to 5 things that are important to you. All right. And this is the first change in your life because now your entire life is going to be focused on those 3 to 5 things. right? A lot of people wonder why they can't get ahead or why they can't get where they want to get because their focus is scattered. It's all over the place, right? As Pat Riley says, the old coach of the Lakers and the general manager of the Heat, keep the main thing, right? Always keep your focus on the main thing. So the first thing we talk about is what's important to you, right? And what are you doing to secure or make sure everything that's important to you is good? You know, for guys like us, obviously it's our kids, right? So everything I do is for not everything, because the first thing you got to do is take care of yourself, right? That's the first thing you got to do. If you can't take care of you, you can't take care of anybody else. But what's important is my kids. So my daughter's in college. That costs money, right? So you got to find ways to make money for college. I got a 7-year-old son. I want to make sure he's right and everything is good with him. So the most important thing is just keep the focus on what's important now. I have a quote sitting on my wall over here. And whenever I get distracted and I'm not focused, it says, I would rather be, and I say, put your BS excuse right here, than being the best person I can be. You know, and for me, my distraction, like a lot of people, is social media. You know, I mean, I don't spend a whole lot of time on there because I have the mindset where when I'm on there, I'm like, hey, that's enough. This is not going to help you get to where you need to be. Let's focus on what you want to do or what you want to be, and let's do that.
And I love that. And the fact, you know, one of the jewels that you mentioned out of that was, you know, really honing in what the main thing that what's important for you right now. And you used the term de-stress. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, we're finding out in the work that we're doing, and we see this across the country, and even in some of the other interviews we've had with some psychologists and things like that, the number one thing that are plaguing, particularly Black men, is stress. And so you know, one way to combat that stress is realizing what matters, what's the most important thing at that time, and then those other things, those other distractions, if you will, you know, you kind of put those on the back burner to be able to deal with the main thing, and that kind of help with that mental health. Why don't you share with us a couple other tips or exercises or something like that that we can actually do to help us kind of make sure that we're keeping the main thing, but really working on that mindset training and mindfulness.
Right. You mentioned de-stressing. So just in the United States alone, over 70% of Americans, not Black Americans, just Americans in general, are taking pills take prescription medication for stress or stress-related illnesses. 70%. That number is crazy. So, like you said, the goal here is to de-stress. And one of the tools that I use, another acronym, is called WAIT, WAIT. What am I thinking, right? Because usually when we're stressed out and we get emotional, it's because of what we're thinking, right? So once you figure out why or what you're thinking, you can figure out why you're upset or why you're mad, and then you can talk yourself off the ledge, so to speak, from that point, right? So let's say, I mean, the easiest example is traffic, right? Everybody hates traffic.
Absolutely.
Right, so you get stuck in traffic, and I don't live too far from the Brave Stadium, and the World Series just ended, so it was just like, get on the GPS and take another way, or you're gonna get stuck in traffic, right? But a lot of times, what happens is we get frustrated because things aren't going the way we thought they should go, right? In particular, these cars in front of us, ain't nobody moving, right? So our tendency is to get anxious because we want something else. We don't want to be stuck in traffic.
Right.
So in those moments like that, right? And here's the thing, that for my program, you don't have to do any extra work. You only use this when you're stressed out, and the stress is going to come. How do we know? Because it has our entire lives. You know, that's the way life goes, as Janet Jackson said back in the day, right? It's life. It's an ebb and flow, and that's another thing to realize too when you're getting upset. You know what? This is life. This is how it works. I'm gonna like some things. I'm not gonna like some things. There's no reason to get upset about it, though, right? But the thing about traffic when you're upset about something and you ask yourself, what am I thinking? Ask yourself, can you control the situation? Very simple. Can I control what's going on? If you can control it, then do whatever you need to do to change it. If you can't control it, let it go.
I
That's
love
hard.
it.
That's hard for a lot of people to do because we always want to be in control. And I tell you what, not one time ever in life has being mad at the traffic made the traffic move faster. Not one time.
No,
You know what I'm saying? So one of the things you can do too in those moments like that, like you're stuck in traffic, have some thoughts about what you're going to do to make your life better. You know, we all have plans, we all have ambitions. Instead of using that time being mad at the little old lady in front of you driving who can barely see over the steering wheel, think about your next game plan. How am I going to make my next move? How am I going to make my next dollar? You know, what's the next step for my kids? There are things you can do in place of wishing you were somewhere else.
yeah.
You know, a lot of this stuff is just it's a lot of fact checking and a lot of reality checking. What can I do about the situation? If you can't do nothing about it, let it go.
Let it go. I love that. And so, I'm over here jotting notes because I'm thinking about my own mental health here, and I want to make sure that I'm capturing this. So we said, weight is what am I thinking? That's a way that we could, really deal with the de-stress, help with the de-stress, and is really focus on those things that we're thinking about. If you can't control it, then let it go. I love that. So it's just walk away from it. And using the scenario of the traffic, it's never changes. And if those that live around the Atlanta area understands that traffic is a part of the fabric of this city.
Yep.
And so you have to find ways to deal with the stress of that traffic, because there's nothing that you're going to be able to do about it. So just let it go. And one of the key things that you said in that is that while you're in the midst of whatever you're dealing, whatever the anguish is, think positively about some other things that you can do to kind of help change and make your life better. And so that's powerful to me, because I think we're so interested in making sure that we focus on those. We're conditioned to focus on those negative things, but what you're encouraging us to do is really focus on those things that are more positive and things that you have control over, right? To make a difference. Last thing, so we've heard about WIN as an acronym. What is it again?
Wait,
Say
wait,
it again.
wait. What am I thinking?
Wait, what am I thinking? And then there was one last one that I remember that we talked about, which was COPS. And I thought that one stuck with me, because I thought, because we're talking to Black men and we're addressing Black men's mental health. And, in our country, we've had some uncomfortable times. I'm being very politically correct.
Very nice about it. Yeah.
With law enforcement, and COPS was an acronym that you had. Talk a little bit about that acronym and what that means.
Yeah. So COPS, COPS, not those cops. These cops are here to help us.
Okay.
And not that all cops are bad. I have family members who are police officers, and you really can't judge one person or a small group of people
Absolutely.
and then sweep the whole group under the table.
Absolutely.
But this is, and I alluded to it earlier, where in life we always have problems or challenges, right? So COPS is C, challenges; O, obstacles; P is problems, right? That's a part of life. That's how we grow. That's how we evolve as people. If life was always easy, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that, because it's never been always easy, right? It's never
Right.
always been easy. There's always going to be a challenge. So
Right.
instead of looking at as these challenges or obstacles as problems, as bad things, just look at it as, this is what's going to help me move forward in life and grow.
Yeah.
Right. Because oftentimes, one of my things that helped me, and in hindsight's always 2020, right? We can look back at there were instances where we thought things were horrible, right? But then fast forward in time, you go, you know what? That really helped me out. It's not as
Yeah.
bad as I thought it was. So going back to my football career, I transferred from Notre Dame. I go to Georgia Tech. The coach that brought me in, Bobby Ross, he left to take the head coaching job with the San Diego Chargers. Got a new coach. They moved me to wide receiver. I've been playing running back my entire life. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like my NFL dream is done. I was like, it's not going to happen. So what do I need to do? So what I actually did was I buckled down in school when I graduated because I didn't think I was going to play pro ball, right? I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to get a job. But with a degree from Georgia Tech, I live in Atlanta. It shouldn't be hard to find a good job.
Yeah.
But fast forward, the following year, I went back to running back, and then, my NFL career took off. But I was one of the best pass catching backs in the NFL when I played. So that whole year I spent playing wide receiver that I thought was the worst thing that could have happened to me.
Wow.
Turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
And actually the same thing with Green Bay. I talked to my agent before I got drafted. He said, where do you want to play? I said, dog, I don't care where I play as long as I don't go to Green Bay. Right? I just don't want to, I don't want to be cold no more. Right? And I don't know anybody in Green Bay. I don't even watch Green Bay. Like I never grew up watching Green Bay because they were never on TV because they were always losing. Once again, something that I thought was terrible for me turned out to be a blessing in disguise because I had no choice but to focus on the main thing because there's nothing to do in Green Bay.
Right.
So all these cops that show up in your life, we don't have the bigger picture, so to speak, right? So you don't know if it's good or bad. It may seem like it's bad in the present moment, but big picture, it may turn out to help us out in one form or fashion.
Absolutely. I love that. So really looking at those challenges, those obstacles, those problems, those cops, if you will, and finding, as they talk about the silver lining or looking at the good that can come out of those things. Because a lot of times, those things that are challenging things in our lives push us and propel us for better. So absolutely. Look, man, thank you so much for your time. Tell the folks how they can, find you on social media, all that kind of stuff. I know that's not a huge distraction of yours, but tell them how they can find you and if they want to kind of connect with you.
See, that's my problem. I get online to post something about Remind, my program or my spin class or something like that, and then I'm all over the place. An hour and a half later, there's a whole bunch of other stuff I could have done in that time after my posting was done. But anyway, yeah, Dorsey Levens 25 on Instagram. Just regular Dorsey Levens on Facebook and Twitter. DORSEYLEVENS. A lot of people think it's INS. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, man, thank you so much again for your time. Thank you for, I know you're a busy man and jumping on with us to be a part of the Blueprint 2. And for our viewers, stay tuned. We have so much more in store with this conference, and we thank you for being a part of it. So until next time, this is Lawrence Wilpin.